Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Braggers Creations. Thank you very much for joining me for this live stream today. I do hope all of the video and audio are all functional. I have had some issues in the past, but everything seems to be okay. All my little lines are going blip, blip, blip. So I think I'm all pretty good. Going to hopefully be a fun live stream today. Lots of different things going on here, lots to talk about and lots to do. So I'm going to do my normal thing and just say hello to everyone. So hello to Nick from Apples Anonymous. A sick PowerBook. I reckon it's a fully sick PowerBook now. He's making reference to one of the dialects here in Australia. A certain group of people that talk like that. For instance, they might be talking about their car and they'll say, I've got a fully sick subwoofer in my WRX, mate. Yeah, so that is, as I say, one of the other Australian dialects we have here. Gibbertronics, hello there. The Tech Knight is here, hello there. Colin, this does not compute, hello there. Who else? I won't say hello to myself, that would just be silly. Kai is here, hello there, Kai. It must be very, very late or early, depending on how you look at it. And who else we got? All Things DG, hello. Francois Revol. Callan, Will from Mac Vintage, Turbo Speed, Sad Mac 356, Mac Main 142, 2112ist, that's all. Inkscuve, Paul Bailey, I think I've got everyone. Fat Pizza, yes, fully sick mind. 2 minutes into Saturday. There we go. Well, that's not too bad. One of the advantages we have at the moment is here in Australia, we're on daylight savings, and up in the Northern Hemisphere, not in daylight savings. So places like sort of Europe and America and stuff like that. And what that does is that actually brings it a little bit closer. So I'm doing 11 o'clock here, and that's kind of 2 hours earlier than it would be in the colder time. Colder here. I know it's colder there now. It is quite toasty here at the moment. That temperature that you see up there is actually the temperature in the city, and I'm quite a bit further inland than the city, so it's a little bit warmer here. So I have my trusty air conditioner going on here, which was purchased almost entirely out of donations to this channel, so it was a big thank you. I remember at the time I was working this workshop saying I am going to have to get an air conditioner because it is so hot in here, and then all of a sudden I just started getting all these super chats. It was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, ducked out the next day and grabbed myself that air conditioner, and it has been quite good. It doesn't get the room icy cold, but when it's blowing on me, it sure makes a big difference. Didn't get out of bed until 9:29 a.m. That's work at 9:30. I hope you're working from home. Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick look here, see if there's anything of relevance that I need to look at in the chat here. I will be doing, just with this PowerBook 100, which I'll start in a moment, I will be doing the screen first with that little cluster of electrolytic capacitors that are lying down on their side, pretending to be tantalums. And we all know they're not. So I've had a look at that, and it does look a little bit crusty, but we'll just see how bad it is. Yeah, that'll be one of the things we look at next. Okay, so I need to just mention a couple of things. Toasty, it's -3 degrees C here. Yeah, and I mean, I love the heat. I really do. I'm definitely a summer person. I really come into my own in summer. 52-hour week this week, and I am spent. Yes, well. I have, this could be my last live stream just for a little while, just for a few weeks, and going in for some minor surgery on Monday. Nothing major, should be fine. It's not like I'm sort of never coming out or anything like that, but there is a recovery time, and I don't know if I'll be able to live stream during that recovery time. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, maybe I will. We will have to wait and see. But just letting everyone know that is a possibility. 31C in Melbourne right now. That's warm. Yeah, it's forecast to get up to 33 today, but it's not get to that until mid-afternoon. Tomorrow, I think, is an absolute cracker. I think tomorrow's like in the mid to high 30s. It's going to be the hottest day so far. Mark Anning, 64 big guy, hello there. Tav Rudin, hello there. Jack 68K, hello there. I read those in a very weird order, didn't I? Yeah. So, a couple of things I want to talk about. I've had a few things sent to me this week, and I do want to discuss them just very briefly. So I'm going to talk about those now. So I'm probably just going to change cameras and see if this top camera... Yeah, it's working. Look at that. Hey, look at that. I'll just zoom out a wee tad. There we go. So, I've got a few things sent to me from Will at KMac Vintage. Now, this is his rather cool little device. What does he call it? What do you call it? It's called a Compact or something. Here it is. I can see the writings underneath the little Raspberry Pi. SE30 Compact. So, there's a really nifty thing, and of course I've demonstrated in this in my live streams before. This allows you to take a Pico power supply, a Pico ATX power supply, plug it in there, which will then power an SE30. And of course the other really important thing is you can then get the video output and you can plug it into a HDMI monitor, which is wonderful, in particular for people who want to kind of create these modern versions of SE30s, which we've seen many times, people putting, fancy screens and stuff like flat screens, liquid crystal. Hello, Retro Techie. So, yeah, he sent this to me. Now, he's already sent me one, which is very nice and very kind, much appreciated. What is different about this one is this one now has, on the back here, this little arrangement here, which is a thermostatically controlled fan setup. So you can connect the fan to this now. If you're putting this into a case with an SE30, you can actually set it up so that a fan will come on if it starts getting hot inside. And that's a really nifty thing, because that's the sort of projects people are using these for. They're getting these SE30s and they're putting them in smaller cases or whatever the case would be. I mean, I challenge someone to make an SE30 portable. So whoever is going to do it, you get yourself with a battery set up and all that sort of stuff and do that. I would really love to see someone do that if I don't do it myself. And the other thing is it now has a power button. You have the option to actually rig up a power button, because before it used to just come on when you connected power to it, but now you have the option so you can switch it on with the power button, which again I think is a really, really nice addition to this, making it much more ready to be used as a project where someone's going to get an SE30 board and do something funky with it, which of course I have plans to do. I have been working on other things, haven't had a chance to do it, but I am actually going to be doing that using the SE30 Reloaded board, which is still giving me grief. And it's giving me grief mainly because it just seems to be issues with getting the contacts with the RAM. If I push down on the RAM and give it a nudge, it's fine. So I may end up, excuse me, doing a cheat and setting up some sort of little clips or something that just push the RAM in a little bit more. So anyhow, that's that thing there. You can check out, feel free, Will, if you want to stick a link into your Ko-Fi coffee web page with all these things on there. So that's, again, if you've got an SE30 and you like doing some tinkering and stuff, or if you're repairing them, this is an absolute must. It makes life so much easier. Now, the other thing he sent me was this. Now, people will have seen this on Colin's video. Colin from This Does Not Compute. We're talking about the way that we can now replace the extremely problematic S2SI power supply using modern components. Now, the 2SI power supply, let's all be honest, is a pain in the butt. It has leaky electrolytic capacitors, but it's also got, like through-hole ones, but it's also got those leaky surface mount ones on that little daughter board. Now, while there are recreations of the power supply, I'm pretty sure Kai has done that already. There are recreations of that power supply, so you can actually take a fresh board and build it from scratch if you want to. This is a really, I think it's a novel solution. And the reason why I say it's a novel solution is because what it does, it makes use of just an off-the-shelf 12-volt power supply. The one that has been selected for this is one that will take voltages from, I don't know, they're a very broad range of voltages that it'll take. So, you know, it'll work for 110 or 120 volts. It works here with 230 to 240 volts, depending on, you know, sort of the time of day. And so you can just get that straightforward 12-volt power supply. So that is there, turning your mains voltage into 12 volts. Then you get a Pico ATX power supply and you plug it in here. And you wire the 12 volts to the Pico ATX because the Pico ATX needs 12 volts. Then what you get out of that is plus 12 volts, plus 5 volts, minus 12 volts. And that's the power supply you need. And then you just need this little jigger thingy, who's a fudge thing here, which allows the soft power. So is it soft power? Does it have soft power? Does the 2SI have soft power? I'm starting to doubt that now. I'm now doubting myself. I'm not sure it does. I think it's just a switch at the back. Working with this does not compute on that. Awesome. That is awesome. I've actually got a dead 2SI power supply somewhere, but I think you guys are all well ahead of me, you know, sort of pulling it apart and whatever. So that's a really, really handy thing for the 2SI. 2SI does have soft power, so there we go. Now I just, you know, couldn't remember. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, you wouldn't think you'd need this if it didn't have soft power. Now, okay, so that's all really good. What he has also added to this, I think, yeah, he's added this little, I think it's this. I think this is it. This little jumper here where you can run power out from that to your SCSI emulator, your Blue SCSI or Zulu SCSI, whatever your preferred one is for putting inside your 2SI instead of a mechanical hard drive. Don't ask me why, but the 2SI does not have termination power. It is, I think, the only model other than the Mac Plus. And the Mac Plus, you can actually get it to do it. You just put a little diode on board where there's no diode. And when the diode's on there, you get termination power on a Mac Plus. But the 2SI doesn't have termination power. So if you're going to be using a Blue SCSI or a Zulu SCSI, you will need to provide power for it. Now, in my 2SI, what I've done is I've just run a little splitter out of the hard drive power supply, and then I've just got a little connection onto the Blue SCSI from that. That works fine. Another thing I did with my 2SI is I grabbed an LED and I have it kind of glued right next to the power LED on the front of the 2SI. And then I have that running to my Blue SCSI. I think it's a Blue SCSI in that. Could even be a SCSI 2SD. I put it in a long time ago. I'll have to check. And so what happens is it works as an activity light. So when you turn the computer on, you get a green light, but then I've got a red light or an orange light, something like that, sort of glued into the same position. So when there's drive activity, the power light actually blinks red. So it's yellow to show the power is on, but it blinks red for drive activity. And I actually really like that. It's a, you know, it's a very simple little thing, but I quite like it. Need pins 1 and 5 on that side to connect a USB plug. Yep, there we go. Why doesn't the 2SI have termination power? I told you not to ask me that. Okay, so that's another great thing here. This is the power up to Lucy. So yeah. I can't put this together today because I don't have the bits. I have ordered the 12-volt power supply. I have ordered the Pico ATX. They are on the way, but I don't have them yet, so I can't put this one together today. We'll just send in an email to make sure that the ATX does have minus 12-volt power. The ad for it certainly says it did, because the link on your web page for where to buy these, the company that you linked to for the Pico ATX, they're actually out of stock. So I just went and found a comparable one there. Yeah, so they certainly advertise that it has minus 12-volt power, so I'm hoping that they're not lying to me. One more little thing here, and we're going to be looking at this. This is a ROM chip also sent to me by Will. And this one was, I can't remember, you'll need to remind me of the capacity of this. So this is one that you can actually program to put in a little ROM drive, but it's actually quite a large ROM drive. I can't remember, it was 8 megabytes or something like that. I can't remember. You'll need to remind me, Will, but I unfortunately don't have a ROM programmer. I must get one. Will sells them. I'll have to buy one from him because I've got so many ROMs that can be programmed and no ROM programmer. There's this one here. I've got the one from, I've got the standard Rominator one, which of course that's been around for a long time, and then I've got one from K-Cobra as well, Satanic Mac Club, and so I would actually love to muck around with those and program. So I will have to do that, but. Yeah, sorry about that, Will. It's not something I ever really thought to mention before. I have a programmer. I have a ROM programmer, but it is one of the ones that has a little kind of like ZIF connector thingy on the end, and you put different sized plugs on. Your one, I can do the job with that, but I would have to do all of the wiring up and stuff. So your one just has the advantages that it's a socket. Now, I guess I could always grab a socket. I do have spare sockets. And I could always just wire them up, I suppose. Or maybe I'll do that, we'll see. As long as there's information on the internet about it, because I'm not smart enough to figure that crap out myself. Foxhound477, hello there. Retro Macintosh, hello. 8 megabytes, yep. Okay, cool. So, I mean, you can do a lot with 8 megabytes, can't you? Let's face it. Yeah, so... that's the little care package I got from Will, so I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And of course, I will be featuring these in up-and-coming videos as well, but I just wanted to mention them today. Now, I did also get another care package, and I am going to just go through that now. It's interesting stuff, because this is things... Oh, actually, I got this as well, but I mentioned this in the last live stream. In the last live stream, I built some RAM. So these are the RAM sims I got from K-Cobra, and I built 4 in the last live stream. And they work, which is great. This is them there. But what I also did in the last live stream was I built 16 megabyte RAM sims. So these were for the 2FX. So this is a kit that Kai sent me ages ago. And I had no motivation to ever put it together because I didn't really have a 2FX. But now that I have a 2FX, I decided to put that kit together. And so I now have 64 megabytes of RAM. Actually, I have more than that because I think it already had 16 in there, so it's now 80 megabytes of RAM in that 2FX. So feeling pretty happy about that. 2FX is something I've been chasing for a very, very long time, and I managed to get one recently from someone who donated it to the channel, which was very, very kind of them. It was absolutely wonderful. That person has also fixed me up with a 2X, which will be probably coming to me next week, I think. But it has to come across from Perth, and anyone who knows Australia knows that Perth's a bloody long way away from Sydney. So I think that's that's being set up for later. You had sent enough chips. There were no extras, but that's okay. I didn't lose any. So you sent... yes, it did work. Now, what I will say about those, they were a bit of a headache. Now, why were they a headache? There was something that went wrong. And it was my fault. I had those RAM chips in a bag, and one of them had fallen out of the bag, and it had been exposed to the elements, and got fairly badly corroded. So I had to clean that one right up, and that was fine. I mean, that was all good. But what that meant is that I had a couple of instances where the solder mask had come away, and the way those PCBs were designed, they have a lot of areas of kind of like data lines or whatever, really, really close to the ground plane. So the ground plane's over the whole thing. And there's some parts where they're literally like about 0.5 millimeter apart from each other. So as soon as I took that solder mask off as part of the cleaning them up, when I put a big blob of solder there, they were just sort of bridging across. So I had to grab that sim, come back and get it all cleaned up. Once I got it all fixed up and found all the bridges and cleaned them all up, it worked a treat. So yeah, it was wonderful. So I really appreciate that, Kyle. It's absolutely fantastic. I think someone has made better ones now. I think someone's done a better design of 16 megabytes, and you've done 4s or something, I think, haven't you? You've done 4 megabyte sims, something like that. The 2X is now boxed up, planning to book the courier Monday. Thank you. That is very much appreciated. Thank you. That's David. Yeah. So anyhow, look, it was a challenging soldering job, but that's kind of what I like. So I'm fine with that. Bowl contacted me the other day, telling me he's altering the PCB for the SE30 Reloaded, and he's extending the pads out a little bit further from some of the PLCC chips, because the software that he uses just creates the pads at a certain size, and they're at a certain size. You would be fine if you're using a stencil and sort of and solder paste, but if you're hand soldering with a soldering iron going into the corner there, it makes it a bit tricky. So he's extended those pads out a little bit further. So that's going to be a wonderful thing. So Garrett Trailer, hello there. I can send a package to Oz. It gets there quicker than one to USA from Cayman Islands. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. The one thing that I find is amazing here is when I order stuff from DigiKey. I don't know what central location they're shipping it from. Maybe China, I don't know. But I get stuff from DigiKey so fast. I get it way faster than other people. And if I spend more than $50, delivery is free. And it's really easy for me to spend more than $50 when I'm ordering something from DigiKey. I go, okay, I haven't quite got to $50. Oh, what else? What have I run out of in here? Oh, okay, I'll get a few of those capacitors. Bang, $50. There you go. Okay, so that's all fantastic. Just talk about that. That's the 2FX now loaded up with 80 megabytes of RAM. Sure, it can be taken up to 128, but I've got to be honest, I'm really not sure that there would be that much difference in terms of functionality, usability, capability between 80 megabyte 2FX and a 128. I reckon I can do a whole bunch of stuff. Let's face it, RAM management isn't particularly good on those old Macs anyway. We used to have a 2FX at the company that I used to work for. We never had that much RAM in there. I reckon we probably had 8. We maybe have took it up to 16, if maybe, but I suspect 8 was all it ever had in it. So same with the SE30. RAM was just so bloody expensive back then. USA, it sits in customs for 3 to 8 days before it's released. It's interesting because sometimes stuff that I get sent over from overseas, it gets released from customs in transit. I don't know how that works, but sometimes they say that. They say, the thing has passed customs and it hasn't even arrived in Australia yet. I don't know how that works. Yeah. All right, now the next thing I want to talk about, because I've talked about the RAM, I've talked about the stuff from Will. I'm quickly just going to talk about this now. Now, Styri, my friends at Styri, the guys that make the flux that I use, I love using Styri Flux. It's awesome. They used to have it named under a different brand name, which I won't mention, but now they are going under the name Styri. One of the main reasons why they are going under the name Styri is because of the confusion caused by that other brand name, because there are simply so many companies selling flux under that name. Styri is very distinctive. They have their flux in these orange tubes, or these red tubes. This is not just for prettiness. This is because it actually helps block out UV light, which helps in the shelf life of the flux that's inside it. Now, this is my preferred one. I've done a review on a whole bunch of different fluxes that they make, but this is the one that I use, the Styri ASM. Now, what they did, now I should just preface this with, when I did the review, I shortlisted quite a few of the fluxes, and one of the ones that really surprised me was the Hydra MA. Now, the Hydra MA is a sort of a water-based flux, and so it washes away a lot easier. And I was just expecting that that's going to be something that as soon as you start soldering, it's just going to burn away and it's going to be useless. But I was so wrong, and I was so impressed with it. Well, they have improved the formula even more. So they have sent me, what have they sent me? Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. They've sent me the new formulation of the Hydra MA, which I'm going to give a try, see how it goes, see what it's like. So really looking forward to giving that a crack. We'll probably use that today and see how it goes. I will do a dedicated video on this. Part supplier in Poland, all new on stock. They get tubes, 74 series logic, £5 each. Or is that euros? That's euros. Way too easy to order. Is that a euro or a pound? I can't tell from here. With the stuff from there, it arrives and you're like, yeah, okay. Yep. All right, so new formula of the Hydra. But here's another thing that I'm really impressed with. This is this is an ASM formula that they've made that is halogen free, and so that's better for your health. So I'm going to be giving that a try as well. If they can match the performance of the ASM with halogen free, I'll be really, really pleased with that. Don't know what price these are going to be selling for. And then I also got a few other things. They sent me an extra roll of ASM because they know I love it. They sent me some thermal compound. So I'll be really interested to try this out as well. So this is a non-silicon thermal compound. I don't quite know how to test these, just from a performance perspective. I'm not sure what the process would be for that. And they also sent me okay, new V3 but not available to buy yet. So this is something that is still coming. I spoke to them about this yesterday. So it was basically called, so anyone who cast your mind back to the whole V3, and there was a product called Sample 88, which I tried. I think I was one of the first people outside of Styri to actually try it. And that then became the V3, and it's a very, very good flux. Now, they have refined that even more, making it an even better flux. However, they are still, and that's sample 99, and it's going to be known as V4. But they are still refining that. So they were actually going to send me a sample of it, but they weren't happy with it. They want to make it better. And I tell you what, I have nothing bad to say about that. I would much rather they get it right than send it to me if they're not happy with it. So they were just concerned that that it was a little bit dark, and so they want to try and improve things. So that's coming, and I will definitely be given a sample to try when it's available, and I will be more than happy to do a video and demonstrate it and let people know how it is. But yeah, that's what's going on with the Sample 99 or V4. I will definitely be trying it when they get it right. They sent me this unepoxy UFO. Now, what is this, you might be saying to yourself? Or maybe you don't care. But either way, I'm going to tell you. This is, what do they call it? Underfill type stuff. It's for when you're doing like BGA chips, and you maybe want to protect them, because BGA is all the little balls soldered underneath the chip, and you might notice that on some boards there's kind of like they put like a bonding around the outside of it to hold them still, to protect them from any bumps and all that sort of stuff. Well, this is that sort of a product. So this is a product that you put on that makes sure that the BGA chips, it's a nightmare if you want to take the BGA chip off, but once you've got the BGA chip on and you know it works, you put this on to protect it. So as I say, this is an underfill here. So Retro Macintosh, I got a Zulu SCSI Slim. It's amazing how slim it is. I watch your video on it. Perfect for those pesky machines that the Blue SCSI don't fit. Yeah, they're amazing, and I just recently did a review on the Blue SCSI external as well, where I do point out the fact that you've got one where the board sits down the middle of a straight through connector, and the other one's using a right angle connector, which makes the board sit a little bit lower. And I really do think the Blue SCSI guys should adopt the same thing of actually using a different type of connector and mounting that board in the middle. I think it's the way to go. It just lifts everything up. Because I make mention of some of the Macs where it's bad, but there are some where it's even worse than the ones that I mentioned. What did I have the other day? A 7300. I had a PowerMac 7300 out, and the size of the plastic ridge that comes out of the bottom of that is just extraordinary. It's a real nightmare getting those Blue SCSI externals to connect. So yeah, I definitely think 0.5. Hello there. So yeah, so that's basically my my feeling is look, they don't have to listen to me. I mean, it's just my suggestion, but I would love to see them adopt that same thing of having the board in the middle of the connector and using a straight-through connector. Those straight-through connectors are cheaper than the right-angle ones as well, so it's a cost savings, so I think it benefits everyone. Was it the underfill that caused Sony's Ring of Death issue with the thermal cycles? That I couldn't tell you. Right, I'm just going to check and make sure I haven't missed anything. So I think I've done, this is all the, in the letterbox type stuff, mailbag. So I think we can probably actually move on and get some work done now. So Thank you for listening to me for the last 30 minutes. My goodness, sorry. All right, so, and they did provide this. Oh, now, sorry, there is one other thing I need to mention. This is quite an important thing. So all of these Sterifluxes came to me from the new Australian reseller, okay? So there is now an Australian reseller for Steriflux, so you don't have to go in and order this stuff from overseas and wait for long delivery times. You can actually order it in Australia. It's a company called Dialed In, dialedin.com.au. I'll just show you the website in a minute. They very kindly gave me a couple of these little side cutters. So that was really nice with a little Dialed In logo on it. And these, of course, are super, super useful if you're someone who's into 3D printing. You know, whether it be just for trimming some filament or if you're into the, you know, removing supports, you know, I mean, a good pair of nice sharp side cutters is really important. So they sent me 2 of these. That was really nice of them, so I appreciate that. And I will just very quickly come up here just for people who are in Australia. This will only take a second. So this is Dialed In. This is the mob that are doing it. So they've got all sorts of stuff in here. They've got like this home assistant stuff, you know, and you know, like the smart switches and all that sort of stuff. Zigbee, which I think is a brand of that stuff, I think. And then we've got development kits. So you've got, you know, little things like this. You've got all your Arduino type stuff and everything. So I invite people to jump on and check out Dialed In. And then, of course, we've got in here Steriflux and Paste. So they've got all the Steri range that they sell here in Australia. So I would just recommend, so this is the one that I use, the ASM TF Tachyflux. That's the one I use there. And this is the new one, the UHF, which we'll be trying today. So yeah, I will put a link in the description after this video, but this is Dialed In. So check that out if you're an Aussie and you're wanting to buy some flux. All right. Tech Night has said expensive. Everything is expensive here in Australia. The Australian dollar is very, very different to the US dollar in terms of where it is. So I think it's something like 60-something cents, I think, at the moment. So, you know, one US dollar is 60-something cents. So you've got it there. That's the first thing you need to obviously consider when things are listed in Australian dollars. They're always going to be higher than they are in US dollars. That's that. And then you also have to accept that there is a thing that's often referred to as the Australia tax. And people just seem to feel like they can charge Australians more for things. But anyhow, that's something to, you know, just always keep in mind when you do see things in Australian dollars. It's one of the reasons why I tend not to talk about things in Australian dollars when I'm reviewing things in my videos, because as soon as I start talking about them in Australian dollars, people are like, oh, that's so expensive, you know, when most of the people that I'm watching my videos aren't Australian. So, righty. So, Zigbee is a wireless protocol for communicating with devices. That's it. Jay from the House of Moth taught me that. Yes. I remember now. He was talking about that. Yes, indeed. Right, now it's time for Le PowerBook. It could be La PowerBook. I don't know what the gender of a PowerBook is. Does anyone else know? Does anyone French here knows what gender a PowerBook is? Okay. Cool, quite a bit of development. Yeah, because I remember Jay from the House of Moth was wanting to, was looking to kind of adopt a protocol, look into a protocol he was, you know, for all the equipment he was buying. I know that was one of the ones he looked at. Okay, now this is our lovely little LCD. And these are little capacitors that are the problem here. Once we look at them in the microscope, we'll see just how bad they are. Now, as someone who has never done this before, I need to ask the question, for anyone who has done this before, do I dismantle this whole thing so that I can just work on this board exclusively? Or is it better to keep it together and I just try and work on it while it's still there in this plastic? So that is my question. You need to take the bare glass panel out. Okay, fair enough. I will do that then. Ah, yes, I see. I see. So we've got this connected here. I'm going to have to get my special glasses because I've got the glasses on that don't allow me to see up close very well. These are the special ones I had made up for my stupid eyes. This looks like it's just going to fall out. I just need to... It feels like there's something still... Oh, it's a... Okay. So there's a diffuser, and the diffuser is stopping me from lifting this off. So I don't know where the diffuser is supposed to come away from. Does the diffuser come away from the plastic, or does the diffuser come away from the glass? I feel like the diffuser is better off on the glass. Careful with that. It should lift out. Okay, it should stay behind. So the diffuser should not come with the glass. That's what you're saying? Oh, I see it. It's lifting away. I see it. It's kind of stuck to these plastic bits. Okay, yeah, all good. It looks good. Thank you. Thank you. So let's get this out of the way now, and let's see what we will see. I can get a paper towel and put on this for some protection. Or at least this makes it easier with the hot air station, I guess. I've got some aluminum tape, some aluminium tape, but I can't find it. I'm not sure where I ended up putting it, so I'm just using Captain tape here instead. Captain Caveman. Different sort of captain. Yes, the old vinegar syndrome is a real bugger. It's sort of what's happening to a lot of these old displays, and there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, that's not true. There is something you can do about it. You can lift off that what do you call it? The thing on the front, the polarizer or whatever, and replace it. But that is, by all accounts I've heard, not a fun job. So so hang on. Have I even ordered the right caps? Answer me that. They're 3.3 35 volt. Is that what I ordered? Because if I didn't order that, I'm going to feel very stupid. I have to have a look. I've got a whole bunch of caps here. So there's 3.316. Because I ordered a bunch of caps. But that fear is that I ordered the wrong ones. I have to have a look. I've got all the paperwork here. I wonder if I can actually just blame Steve if I got the wrong ones, because he's the one that told me which ones to get. Steve from Mac 84. It's all his fault. He's not here, so I can say anything I like. Oopsie. Just going to check. Do. So there. No. So I'll see what I've got anyway. I mean, I might if you know what Tech9 is saying. There's yes, your message is getting through, Foxhound 477. If you're in a situation where you've potentially posted something and it didn't get through, just keep in mind that if you're not a mod and you send a URL through, it won't post. So that happens sometimes. People they will go to send a URL and it doesn't appear, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And that's what happens sometimes. Okay. I'm probably should just look at my order history. You know, I'll just look at my order history. It'll be easier. I'll be able to look it up. So just bear with me a second. I mean, if I did indeed order the wrong thing, I'd have to go back and have a look at my discussion with Steve. But if I did order the wrong thing, I must have just been fast asleep when I did the order, because. But once again, I do have a bunch of caps here. We'll go and have a look and see what we have. Yeah, there we go. Logging in. Remember me. I'm not a robot. Or maybe I am. Here we go. People are ever wondering about that, I'm not a robot. You know, it's the way that you move your mouse around that it's actually detecting. It's detecting that you're a person by the way that your mouse travels around the screen. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Order history, there we go. And we'll have a look there. And what do we got? No, I didn't order them from there. So what did I order? Have to go back to my discussion with Steve and have a look there. Because I'm sure I did it based on stuff that Steve sent me. And, you know, maybe he sent me the wrong thing, or maybe I copied it down wrong. Either way, it's definitely me stuffing up some way. Long, long conversation. My conversation with Steve here, goodness me. He was doing some work with a with PowerPC, and so we were just chatting about that for ages. You know, one of those clones. He loves clones. Okay. We can at least take the old caps off. That's something we can do. If I don't have the new caps, then I'll order some new caps as soon as I finish the live stream, so that they're ready to do very soon. Because this guy who sent me this has just been waiting long enough. It's been sitting here for ages. Ah, here we are. Here we are. 33535. Yes, okay. So he definitely showed me the right ones. So does that mean I ordered the wrong ones? Maybe I only imagined ordering them. But anyhow, either way, I definitely didn't order them. So do you have any 4.7s at 35? I'm not even sure I have any at 35, but let me just check. Let me have a look in here. Most of what I got is like 16, but we'll see. We won't just rule that out yet, because I do have lots of caps. And if you're wondering why I'm talking funny, it's because I'm having to bend my chin over. Here we go. Here's the first lot of tants. And of course, they've got to be small too. That's the other problem. I've got 4.7 25s. 25's not enough. 25, 16, 10, 10, 25, 25, 25. So I've got 4.7 25s. And they're the right size, but they're 25, not 35. So I'm not a big fan of sticking things on with a lower voltage. And then I got a bunch here. 4.7 35s. Have a go at that. I have got 4.7 35s. So thank you for that. That's what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They might be a bit big though. Oh no. I reckon they'll fit. I reckon there's a good chance they'll fit. I reckon there's a really good chance they might fit. Got some little tiny caps here. Alright, well the first thing I'm going to do is just see if they fit. Yeah, it's bizarre. I wonder what I needed 4.7 35s for. Let's go to the scope view. My little eyes, who are not too good anymore. Now, will I be able to make that oh god, yeah, there's heaps of room. Heaps of room, look at that. Crikey. Alright, time for me to change glasses again, and it's time for us to actually make this happen. So, the Tech Knight, thank you very much for your advice. I would not have dared put 4.7s on there if it was not for your guidance. And I have a great deal of faith in your capabilities. So I'm more than happy to actually do what you said. Steve, oh, your ears must have been burning, Steve. I talked about you. I talked about how you told me to buy the ROM caps, which is, of course, totally untrue. You did not tell me to buy the ROM caps, but for some reason I bought the wrong caps. I have no idea why. Kenneth, hi, I always enjoy watching your videos. Thanks from Japan. Thank you very much for saying so. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, you did nothing. You did nothing. I honestly don't know what happened. I've bought a size of capacitor that I have no idea why I would have bought it. None. So I was reading the wrong thing or something. I don't know. Okay, so these are the caps on the PowerBook 100 screen. Now, for those that aren't aware, even though these are in these little square things that make them look like they're tantalum caps, they're not tantalum. They're electrolytic. They're a little electrolytic barrel sitting inside a square thing. Why? Because Apple, that's why. I care very little for the... oh, I can smell... I could have been tipsy. I don't normally do orders like that when I've been drinking, but it's always possible. Who am I kidding? I do orders when I'm tipsy all the time. Which boards, ultrasonic cleaning crystals, wary? I could tell you, I can actually tell you that. I mean, Kai can probably tell you as well, but I can tell you which ones to be wary of. And if it's old and it is this type of crystal, there's a risk, okay? There is a risk. 2CI, I've had it happen to that, but it's the only one that I've had it happen to. 2CI, I lost a crystal in the ultrasonic cleaning process, so. Oh, cool, we're still alive. That's great. Everything appears to still be in good condition. That's a plus. Let's go back to the scope view. Patrick Pitts, hello there. Extra caps for next project, yep. Indeed. Whatever it might be. I think I bought 10 microfarads, something like that. Might have been 10 volts, so it's just like I punched 10 in. 10. Yeah. Maybe I ordered them. I don't know. No, I'm not going to try and guess. You know what's going on here because there's just don't know. Right now, what am I going to do now? I am going to try out this new flux. Now, this is a silly thing. How are the chickens? Let's say hello to the chickens. Chook cam. There's one. I don't see the rest. Okay, I can see two. There's one on. Actually, I can see three. I can see four now. So we've got, oh no, actually that's not a chicken, that's just a shadow. So there are two black ones there. There's one in the left middle, up, you know, sort of up, sorry, let me put it in the middle of the screen, up near the top. And then at the right of the screen, there's the big black one. And then down the bottom is the blind one. So that brown one down the bottom is the chicken that is blind. Got her that way, unfortunately. Could have been the way she was raised. I have heard that they can sometimes get blind if they're kept in environments with very high ammonia. So in other words, they're not getting their coops cleaned out regularly. That's always a possibility, but I do not know because I did not raise them. I got them just before laying age. So they started laying eggs like within about a week or two after we got them. Yeah. SMD caps they do look similar to chicken feed. Okay, so let's just go back to the scope view here. And we're going to do a little bit of cleaning. So this is the new ASM formula that is halogen free. So I'm going to just plonk a little bit of this on here. We're going to use it to clean up these pads. Okay, it is a little bit more opaque than the standard ASM, but not much. The opacity is something that I'm quite passionate about. PowerBook 150, what a piece of crap that was. My goodness. Interesting thing about the PowerBook 100, I mean, this is something, oh geez, fume extraction please. Doesn't smell too bad. There's a little bit of a chemically smell there, but it's really not too bad. I'm just going to move this out of the way because I'm worried about it getting damaged. Yeah, the PowerBook 150 was the one where they, like, it didn't have anything. I mean, it had no floppy drive, and I think it had no way of connecting a floppy drive. No, you could, I think, connect a floppy drive, but it had no ADB port, so you couldn't put an external monitor. It was just stupid. But the PowerBook 100, so Apple had in the past made a portable computer. They had brought out the Mac Portable, and it wasn't that good. I mean, it's fun for collecting purposes these days. It's fun for nostalgia, but of course it was run off a lead acid battery, so it was a great big thing. It used its own type of RAM, so it was expensive to upgrade. It was huge, it was heavy, really cool the way you could swap the trackpad and the keyboard around for left or right-handed people. That was a really nifty thing. But it wasn't exactly a shining success of computer portability. Many people would say the PowerBook 100 was when Apple properly got into portable computers, or into laptop computers. And the PowerBook 100, although, you know, not a particularly powerful computer, definitely was a good laptop in terms of the size, you know, sort of, and weight and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. There are lots of people that have done all sorts of stuff with replacing the portable battery with modern equivalents. People putting, I think, lithium batteries in them and stuff like that. They just use the original case. Or they build a case. Obviously, with 3D printing these days, you can just print one that's the same size. Because it sort of does need to be the same size, because I think it presses a micro switch when it's in there, something like that. And yeah, and then they've put different batteries inside. So, nifty stuff. These pads are coming up really nice and clean with this flux and solder, so that's nice. I'm just going to get all that off now and we'll clean it up, and then we'll be ready for some new stuff. I still have that portable for you. I still have to get to my box. Story of my life. Yes, I know the feeling. The 100 was designed by Sony. Well, there you go. Cars are portable, yes they are. Remember they used to have those big luggable computers, like the old, what were they called? Was it Osborne? Or, I can't remember. All of the masks coming off here, but I don't care about that. Whoops. What's that? Something coming off underneath. Something heat. Impacted by the heat. Yeah, okay. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, this thing is annoying. Stop it. Okay. This is not a fun job. As far as recapping goes, the PowerBook 100 screen is not what I consider fun. On the bright side, it doesn't appear to have done any damage surrounding it. So we'd be pretty pleased with that. Osborne and K-Pro. K-Pro, that was the one I was trying to think of. I couldn't think of the name. They're amazing computers. And they're a real sign of the time. You know, when you see them, it is a reminder of a particular time in computing history. And because I love, you know, the personal computer history side of things. I've always fascinated with that. And so, you know, when you see those sorts of computers, which are so iconic, they're the ones, of course, that become collectible. I think any computer that is iconic is going to be collectible. The ones I've talked about before in the past are things like the Commodore, was it PET? The one that had the lifted up, was built into the screen. They're very, very iconic. There's obviously a lot of the Apple computers, very iconic. So my wish list of computers that I would still like to get, I would love to have a K-Pro. That's one, the one that we talked about this a moment ago. I would love to have an Altair, what is it, 8800? But they're just so friggin' expensive. That's just, I can't ever see that happening. I'd love to have one of those original IBMs. What were they? 5150, something like that? Okay. Now, needless to say, this is not going to be able to go into the ultrasonic cleaner, so I have to just try and keep this as clean as possible. Repro kits of the 8800, yeah, I've seen those, and I think I'd still like to have I think a repro kit's better than nothing because they do have that wonderful look. An ADB port on the 100. Yeah, I think the 100 has an ADB port. It was the 150 that didn't. I think it was the 150. One of the things that I don't like about PowerBooks as a collector is how, what's the word, delicate, finicky they are. You know, I bought a laptop and it worked mostly, but it had some lines on the screen. So I pulled it apart and then I could never get to work again. Now, did I kill it with some static electricity? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, no ADB on the 150. Stupid thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I've got in terms of like collectible stuff, I have probably the oldest laptop that I have that's working. I've got a couple over here, but they're not working. I've got probably the oldest one I have that's working is a 540C, and I love that laptop, I got to say. That's the one that's got 68040 chip in it. That's a beautiful 640 by 480 display. Beautiful. But yeah, the I have quite a few G3 laptops. So I don't have the very first G3 laptop, whatever that one was called. I can't remember, but I have the bronze keyboard one. I've got there's Lombard, Pismo. I can't remember. Someone will probably remember them all. I've got 3 of them. I've got 3 of the G3s. One of them is brilliant because it is the only Mac that ever came out with SCSI and built-in USB. Now, yes, you could put in a USB card into some of the earlier ones that had SCSI, but this actually, out of the factory, had SCSI and USB. I think it's the Lombard, but was it Wall Street? Yeah, Wall Street, Lombard. Yeah, Kanga, Wall Street, PDQ, Lombard, Pismo. So the Kanga is the one I don't have. I'm pretty sure I have the rest, I think. Yeah. And I think it's the Lombard that had both. I think the Lombard had both USB and SCSI. And so that's really cool, because that makes it then a great bridge Mac. You know, you can plug in a USB device, copy stuff across onto a SCSI drive. It's cool. Oh, why did you give your Lombard to Mac 84? You know he can't be trusted with that. All right, so we're going to pop this capacitor on here. Start with this one down in the corner. Pretty straightforward job with these. With the capacitor being so small, it's pretty easy to then solder onto these pads like this. I'm very, very happy with how clean this came up. I did have my concerns. I'm going to have a fun time getting the soldering in between these components, that's for sure. But, you know, tackle that when we can't get to it, I guess. My white balance is a little bit funky here. I'm tempted to fix it up, but there's always that issue that sometimes when I turn this camera off, it doesn't come back on again. So that's why everything's really yellow. And normally what I do is when I switch the camera on, it does a white balance at the time it comes on. So I always switch it on with a piece of white paper under it, and that does the white balance, and then I'm all good. But we tripped a circuit breaker the other day, and so everything switched off. and then when it came back on, it just white balanced onto whatever was under it at the time. Okay. Best got is a 2400C prototype, works great. Oh, cool, excellent. I have a something or other. I've got another one. I've got one in between the G3 and the 540, and I picked it up for pretty cheap. I can't for the life of me remember what it is. You know, I mean, it was back in the time when Apple was just bringing out so many different Macs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm taking a big risk bringing all these capacitors out at the one time. The capacitor fairies are legendary in this area. I look in the microscope, I start working, the capacitor fairies come in, grab the capacitors, and then go. They're just gone. 3400. Thank you, Steve. It was the 3400. I'm pretty sure it was the 3400. That rings a bell. I just got it for really, really cheap from somewhere. I thought, yeah, why not? Do the solder slide method. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. So that's basically where you solder once. You put a bit of solder on here, and then you heat it. Then you slide it into position. I'll see how I go. Look, I've got this conical tip. It might be fine. I'll just try it out. If it doesn't work, I'll use the slide method for sure. Pants look like corn. Yeah, well, I'd know if a chicken came in here, surely. Because the capacitor fairies are very bold. They steal from me even when I'm in here. Is it the time to ask for things for Christmas? Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, because I have recently acquired a 2FX and a 2X, you know, they are big computers. And the one thing we do not have here is space. Stop wobbling. I've got my hand in a weird position and it's shaking. Kind of like muscle fatigue sort of thing. Going out for dinner tonight for pizza. Because it's my birthday yesterday. So catching up with family for a birthday dinner. I'm an old bastard. $21 again, yes, definitely. Oh, actually, you know what I should do? Is it here? If it's here? Yeah, is it here? Yeah, here it is. Got to wear this. It's got some gunk on it, but never mind. I'm going to wear this. Yeah, represent my good friend Steve. I'm going to stick it on Darth Vader's head. There we go. Steve sent me that. A while ago now, but he sent me that. I'll just show you when we get here. Here we go. 84. I'm Mac 84. Thank you for people wishing me happy birthday. Appreciate that. I mean, I don't really care too much about birthdays. It's not one of the things that I'm sort of like, oh, it's my birthday, I can't wait. You know, I'm just like, I really don't care that much. But I tell you what I do like. I like catching up with friends and I like catching up with family. That's always a good... It's nice to have an excuse to catch up with people, so let's catch up for my birthday. It's nice. I have got a 2012? What was the last year of the 17-inch IMAX, 27-inch IMAX that wasn't 4K? So they went 4K, or, you know, that Retina 4K screen or whatever, and it was the model before that, which I think is 2012. I've got one of those, and it's the CTO version, which is, it has an i7 chip in it, a quad i7 chip in it, and it is, even though it's quite old, it's still a really, really capable computer. I need to find a home for it. So I'll probably put it up on Marketplace or something like that. Just, you know, $75 or $50 or something like that. See what happens. 230, yeah, it could be 2013. That sounds about right. What's a WV? Flying to WV for Thanksgiving this weekend. I know it's a state, but I don't know which one that is. 2013 with a cracked screen. Yeah, there's plenty of those around. I've talked about this before, but when you actually need to separate those screens, because one of the annoying... Actually, it's an annoying thing and it's also a good thing. There are two benefits. So the older versions of those iMacs, they used to have a glass panel that you would lift off the front and then you would take the LCD screen out. Now that was really good because if you broke that glass panel you could just easily replace it. What was bad about it was that once that glass panel came off, it was an invitation for dust to come in, and so if you weren't careful you could end up putting the glass panel back on and trapping dust in there, and then you'd be sitting there working on your computer and you see a cat hair or something like that. It's like crap. With the later ones, the LCD is attached to the glass. Now the advantage of that is you can't get any dust in between the two because that's glued onto it. The downside is that if you crack the glass, it's almost impossible to replace. It's not impossible, but I don't know anyone who's done it. So yeah, there are lots of instances of those ones where they've got cracked screens and they've just stayed that way. They still work, but they stay that way because they're so hard to replace. But it's yeah, I mean, this is the sort that has the combination of like sled drive and mechanical drive. Apple had a word for it. I can't remember. They came up with some sort of fancy term for this drive. Hybrid, some crap. I don't know. I don't remember what it was called. This flux is quite nice. Fusion, that was the one. Thank you everyone for answering me on that one. I couldn't remember what it was. Fusion. BS waste of time drive. Look, I definitely think a Fusion is better than just a straight mechanical drive, because, and I'll say that because on this particular Mac I've installed some of the later operating systems which really don't perform well on a mechanical drive at all, and they run pretty well on that Fusion drive. So I think it's definitely better than just a mechanical drive, but yeah, I mean, it would just be better to just stick a big old SSD in there. Stuck it in the toaster oven and got it working again every time. I mean, you remember, I'm sure people here are familiar with the whole crap that happened to the 2012 laptops with the, you know, the display chip that went bad. So we talk about the 15-inch, no, not 2012, 2011? Or is it 2012? I think it's 2012. So there was the 17-inch and the 15-inch where they had two different display chips in them. One of them was an ATI or whatever they are, and the other one was, I think, an IBM or something. I can't remember. And they are just virtually 100% guaranteed to fail. Yeah, they're bad. Mr. Fusion, 1.21 gigawatts. Does anyone else get annoyed when he mispronounces gigawatt? But never mind. $1.21 gigawatts. Maybe we need to start pronouncing it that way because it's such a well-loved movie. Marty! What a great film that was, eh? Or film series. The second one is probably the weakest in my opinion, but still a very clever film. I mean, boy, the second one in this day and age would be an absolute marvel because there's so many crap movies being made at the moment. Mispronunciation makes it better. How is that new flux working out? It feels pretty good. I mean, look, this isn't the sort of test that I would normally put a flux through, but it smells fine. That's one of the things that I'm always checking for, and it's nice and clear, so it's not too opaque, so I can see through it. That's important to me. So yeah, so far so good. Doing trace repair is where I really put the fluxes through their paces. You know, because it's just repeated heat on them when you're doing the wires, and of course if the flux melts away or burns away, you know, the solder doesn't flow on the traces as well. So that's generally what I do to test. Oh look, we've hit the big 3.0 with the temperature. Okay. People who work in Fahrenheit, that's not going to mean much, but generally, when it comes to Celsius, when the number starts with a 3, you know it's hot. Okay, which flux is that again? So this is the one I'm using, is the ASM UHF. So it is a safer version of ASM. So it's a halogen-free ASM. The ASM is the one that I use, but as I've made very clear in the videos that I've said about it, it is not necessarily the most healthy. It has some chemicals in it which you definitely want to make sure you've got fume extraction. So whereas this one here, you really should be using fume extraction all the time, but with it being halogen free, it's a little bit healthier, it's my understanding. I mean, the word giga has been used for a long time because, I mean, okay, we think about it in terms of maybe gigabytes storage, no, but we think about it as in, you know, gigawatts, very unlikely. But things like gigaliters, you know, if we're working in a metricated society, we've been metricated here since 1966, and when people are starting to talk about water storage, say in a dam, they'll be talking about gigaliters of water. So, you know, giga, I think, still has been used for a while. You can go now. Right, so now we've got to do some cleaning. So I'm going to, I think probably the safest way to do this, because to be honest, holding this thing just gives me the willies. It's because it's so thin and glass, and me and glass have a pretty smashing relationship. Metricated is an interesting word, isn't it? So we changed to the metric system in, I think it was 1966. One of the interesting things that we did here with cooking is the way we now do teaspoons and tablespoons when we metricated those. So a teaspoon is 5 milliliters. And a tablespoon is 20 milliliters. And apparently when they metricated in England, they made a tablespoon 15 milliliters instead. So there are 3 different sizes of tablespoon throughout the world. There is the tablespoon from the imperial measure, the US tablespoon. There is the UK tablespoon, and then there is the Australian tablespoon. Don't ask me what they use in France. I've got no idea. Right, well, I think that's okay. Metroperial. Measure fuel in litres and distance in miles. Yeah. I mean, look, there are still things that here in Australia that we're still... So, for instance, we will still measure, screen resolutions in pixels per inch, or printers in dots per inch, even though in Europe they'll do that in dots per centimetre. But we are still definitely using dots per inch here. When it comes to height, even though everyone here uses centimetres, I grew up in an era where everything was feet and inches. So when I want to know how tall someone is, they tell me in centimetres and I need to convert it into feet and inches. Otherwise, I've got no idea how tall they are. I know 2 metres is tall. Alright, now I have got to get this screen clean before I put it back together again. And I have got no idea how I'm going to do that. I mean, I talk about Americans not using the metric system, but of course they do. We know that they do use the metric system for certain things in the US. First of all, a lot of the scientific agencies, places like NASA and that, they all use metric stuff now. When it comes to people measuring very, very small things, it's not uncommon for people in the US to talk about things being a certain amount of millimetres in size rather than doing it as a fraction of an inch, because obviously millimetres is a much smaller measure. And then, of course, the other thing is grams. I hear that drug dealers, they measure out drugs in grams in the US. So, yeah. Okay. Oops. Right, now that's it with the cleaning. But I want to just wipe off the cleaning now. How about tyres which are measured in millimetre width, percentage height, and inches diameter? Yeah, it's pretty stupid, isn't it? Isn't it? That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, you're right. And of course, the other thing is that it's the same with tyre pressures. See, I still work in pounds per square inch, even though there's, what is it, hectopascals or some crap. I don't know. I can't remember what they're called. But anyhow, kilopascals. I don't know. There's a metric version for pressure, but I still use pounds per square inch. It's just so much easier when it comes to like tyres. It's like, oh yeah, give it 65. It's just simple. I hate this part. I hate this part. I hate this part. Let's put it back together. On the bright side, I didn't really need to do anything else to this. There's nothing wrong with the ribbon cable. It all looks really good. It's just where those capacitors were where it was a little bit ugly. Bar. KPA or bar. Is my messages making it through? Yes. Internet is being flaky. Well, I can't speak for all of your messages, but that message did come through. Had to flip to hotspot. Oh dear. It's no good. Not very good. That's from an Australian ad, which I find very funny. Very good. It's an ad for, I think it might be a chocolate bar, I'm not sure, but in it, there's a young guy who goes to an art class where he's drawing a nude, and this middle-aged woman comes out, takes her clothes off, and then she waves at the young guy who's about to start painting, and she goes, "Hi, dear," and he goes, "Hi, Mum." And at the end of that ad, she looks at his painting and says, "Oh, it's very good." And that just makes me laugh the way she says that. Okay. Well, I think we're good. I sort of feel like everything is in place where it should be. You know, I say that with all the certainty of someone who's never done this before, but it does feel like everything is just locked back into place. Yeah, sorry. And when did they metricate in France? They did it a long time ago. A long, long time ago. You were going on a long journey. You are going to Rome. But I'm in Rome. Do I lie? I feel like that should be tucked underneath. Yeah, that should be tucked underneath. That looks better. Stop. There we go. Something tells me France went to metric just to make the Brits mad. Yeah, probably. Always been a bit of a thing between those two, isn't there? These little blobs on this screen, I don't know where they came from. They certainly didn't come from me, but they're sort of, I don't know, it's been splattered with something. But I think it's alright. It's alright. France invented the metric system, but when? But when? That is the question. Yeah, Francois, that whole thing about the 1 meter thingy, yeah, someone did change the definition so that it wasn't based on a physical object anymore. Was that the weight thing? I can't remember. Anyhow, it's not that important. There was something that was defined by a physical object, and then someone turned around and said, no, we're not going to do it by a physical object anymore. We're going to do it by a definition of something, and change to that. Make life easier for folks. Now, this is probably the most difficult and annoying part of the job, but there is still lots of other stuff left to recap here. I've got to figure out now how to close this. So, which way around is it for starters? Is it that way around? Answer me that. Huh? Maybe that's something I should have checked. I can go back to the beginning, I suppose. I hate it when there are things that can go on two different ways. I think it's got to be that way because that goes through there. Yeah. Or not. No, that can't be right. That can't be right. April 7th, 1795. There you go. The meter was meant to be a fraction of the circumference of the Earth. Interesting. So here's something really interesting. People may or may not know this about paper. In sort of Australia and I think England and Europe and all that, we have a paper size called A4. And that's like a standard piece of letter paper. So like that is an A4, okay? That sheet there is an A4. Its dimensions are 210 millimeters across by 297 millimeters down. Now you might be thinking, it's metricated. Why would you have such weird numbers? Why 210 by 297? Why not have something that is a whole number? Well, it's actually really, really interesting as to why they came up on that size. First thing you have to remember is that if you take this, a piece of A4 paper, and you duplicate it, one next to each other, like that, this is now an A3 piece of paper. So that's 297 one way, 420 the other way. And then if you keep doing that, you keep duplicating it across, you end up getting to a size called an A0. And an A0, whatever the measurement for that is, I can't remember, I can't figure it out in my head straight off. But an A0 is exactly 1 square meter. It's just not in a square. It's the 1 square meter of area, but it is in a dimension that when they slice it down the middle, it is directly proportionate in size. So when you slice it down the middle, you can take that half and it will be the same physical proportion. So in other words, can be scaled up exactly to the next size up. There's a term for it. There's a mathematical term for it, but I can't remember what it is. But yeah, that's why we have such weird numbers for our paper. And that. Oh yes, this definitely goes this way. I see that now. Golden ratio, that might be it. I'm not sure. So, yeah, so you got an A0, you slice that down. So if you've got an A0 that's landscape and you slice it down the middle, you end up with 2 portrait A1s. Then you turn the A1 on its side, you slice it down the middle, you have 2 portrait A2s. And then you keep doing that, you do A2, A3, A4, which is our standard letter size, and you have A5, A6, A7, you can just keep going down as small as you want. I'm not sure if it is the Fibonacci sequence. I know what you're talking about with the Fibonacci sequence, but I'm not sure if it is in the instance of what we're describing here. Charlie, hello there. International Committee for Weights and Measures approved a revision in November 2018 that defines the kilogram, defining the Planck constant to be and with the numbers. All with the numbers there. You got the numbers there. Oh, God, I'm having a real jobby of a time getting this done. I've got it. It just sort of feels like it wants to slot in, but it's a bit stiff. Hello. Hello, little chicken. You gonna come and say hello? Oh, you found a little bit of food. That's the food that you knocked over the other day. Thank you very much. Not sure I would eat off the floor in here, but never mind. I'm not a chicken. Oops. Golden ratio is the snail thing. Yeah, the golden ratio is the Fibonacci sequence. So golden ratio is Fibonacci. There we go. So we're all on the same page. But it's not the A4 paper thing. Who knew putting this piece of metal on would be the hardest part of this process? Huh. Huh. And the trick with it is that it kind of needs to be up this way in order to get it to sit on properly. But you kind of need to flip it over to see if you've got it right. We're good. We're good. Everything's good. We're fine now. How are you? There we go. So then I just got to bend some of these little metal thingy-me-jigs in. And get my pair of pliers for that maybe. Pliers, pliers. I saw them before. They were here. There they are. We're sending a squad up. No, no. Leak. Bad. Radiation leak. Anytime I make a movie reference, Steve always gets it. Now, admittedly, that was an easy one, okay? But I make movie references all the time, and Steve gets them. He clearly watches the same movies I do. Something very satisfying about bending these little metal tabs. Don't know why, but just feels nice. There we go. There's our screen back together. Feeling pretty good about that. Once again, thank you to TechNight for letting me know I was able to use a different type of capacitor, one that I did not have. Here are the old ones, and as I mentioned before, these are electrolytic capacitors which are masquerading as tantalums. And you can see, yeah, I won't put it on that. There we go. So we have the plastic here on the outside, and then we have the little metal can on the inside. And I just think it's so deceptive. It's a terrible ruse. And we will blame, is it Sony? Sony apparently made this. Is that right? So we will blame Sony. Sneaky Sony. Who is this? What's your operating number? See, Steve always knows them. He always knows the comments. Is making it look like the ISO paper standard is all about square roots and stuff. Yeah, that sounds right. Tevrid, you do exactly the same as me. Whenever I type aspect ratio, aspect ration comes out. I don't know if I type it or if it gets spell corrected, but every time I type aspect ratio, I end up typing aspect ration. Rudy, hello there. Can't stay, wanted to pop in and say hi. Well, hi right back to you. Some of the Newtons are the same fat capacitors. I hate them. Had someone contacting me the other day who I actually gave, he's a young fella, I think he's 14 or 15 or something like that, who's just getting into vintage Mac collecting, which of course I encourage, and I wanted to be as encouraging as possible. So I sold him an LC2 for quite cheap, and I gave him a broken 7600 for free. I said to him, if you can get the 7600 working as a project, a long-term project, it'll be a good one to have, because the 7600, you've got first of all, you've got all those upgrade paths with the daughter board. You can always stick a G3 or a G4 in it. There's a lot of good games you can play on those Power PCs. It's got a CD-ROM drive. It just doesn't work. It's dead. It used to work, but it doesn't anymore. So when you try and power it on, it's just completely dead. So I said, look, I suspect it's probably the power supply. I'd maybe open it up, have a look for any capacitor leakage or maybe a blown fuse or something like that. But if you can get it up and running, it'd be a nice little project. So I want an A0 slice of pizza. That's a big slice of pizza. RAM is a bastard to find though here anyway. Yeah, I gave it to him with, I think 64 in it, 232 sims, 2 times 32 megabyte sims. I've got quite a bit of RAM for that, but I'm destroying it all. Well, not destroying it all, but I'm repurposing it for my 4 megabyte sims. So I've still got some. Not all of them are good though. I've got some that don't work properly, but yeah, I've been getting the RAM and turning them into 4 megabyte sims because I've just got so many more computers that can use the 4 megabyte sims than I have these ones. I've got a 7300 with a G3 upgrade card in it. I'm not sure how much RAM is in that. I'll have to check. But that's one that I often use for my benchmarking, particularly for SCSI, because it has a faster internal SCSI bus than a lot of the old Macs, so it's a good test. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this yet, but there is some interesting stuff going to be happening with Zulu SCSI firmware, and typically when stuff happens with Zulu SCSI firmware, it then happens with Blue SCSI firmware as well. And I have done some tests with this new firmware and seen a 50% increase in write speed. So I don't want to talk that up too much, but that's pretty big. The read speed is already about the fastest the Mac can go. The read speed is around about sort of, I think it's high eights, mid to high eights, 8,000 kilobytes a second. And that's about as fast as you're going to get on those Macs because they've got a 10 megabyte ceiling. And, you know, even though you might see a little improvement, it's definitely the peak of the Mac. But the write, there is definitely an opportunity for better write speed. So, yeah, with the FWB driver or the Apple one, FWB, that's definitely, I always use FWB. I have been an FWB evangelist since the beginning of time. It's all I ever used in the day. It was HDT Primer, you know, the software that came from FWB, and that's all I've ever used for formatting. And of course, people in recent tests have now been discovering why that is the case. It's because it's faster. So. Caps. I realised it would be cheaper with electrolytics. That's a good question, Tevra, isn't it? I was just wondering why we have these weird little sideways electrolytic caps. And it is possible that maybe they did design it for tantalums and then decided it would be cheaper to use electrolytics. It's always possible. These have definitely leaked, by the way. I did make just brief mention of it when I was removing them, that I could smell that leaky electrolyte smell. It's kind of fishy smell. And it was very, very noticeable when I took them off. So we know that they were leaking and they were bad. How are they able to implement new firmware when the software architecture has changed so much? I don't know. All I did was test it. I didn't ask them. But I just, there was absolutely no denying the results I was getting. I was just reporting them back to them and saying, look how much faster the write speed is. It's like, wow. And that's just the same hardware. Exactly the same hardware. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about that, if anything. So I'm not going to say any more at this stage, other than I think it's coming soon. Definitely an early 80s, an 80s, early 90s thing. I've found them in plenty of electronics, not just computers. There is one other device that I've found them in. I'm just trying to remember what it was. I worked on something that had, a hard drive. Yeah, so a lot of these old quantum hard drives, I've got one floating around here somewhere. A lot of these old quantum hard drives would typically have a couple of capacitors here. So there's your power input there, and then there's two capacitors. There's one there, and there's one there. And some of these, and sometimes those two capacitors were right next to each other, but generally around the power connector. And some of these old quantum hard drives had those little electrolytics in a little plastic box for these. So, yeah, weird. This hard drive is rogered, by the way. So, I got a Macintosh SE30 that was really badly corroded. I did a video on it. It's the one about finding, old computers and with all rust and everything. It's been restored now. It's right here, and it's absolutely magnificent. And I'm probably going to end up selling it. Well, we'll see. And this is the hard drive that was in it, and unfortunately the corrosion actually got inside it. So the platter itself, I mean, look at this corrosion here. Can you see all that? You see all that crap here? Look at it. It's awful. So the corrosion, just going to zoom in a smidge. So it actually started getting some corrosion on this platter, so that when the platter was spinning, you could hear it going ching, 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 ching on the heads. So there's no way that's coming back. There's no way I'm going to get data off that. So I'm no fool. Popcorn noises coming from your hard drive. Yeah, we love that. We all love that here. Right, now what are we going to do next? However long have we been going? I've only been going for an hour and a half. Still plenty of time. There are a few things I can look at. I've got I can keep recapping the PowerBook. I've only done the screen, but that was the part that I was most nervous about. So I will put this back in here. I'll put the screen back into the little baggie. Do I have to recap anything on this board? I'll have to have a look. Steve did send me a link to all the things that need new caps on these, so I will have to study that for the remainder. But the screen was the part that I was most nervous about, so I can relax now. But yes, I know there's recapping that needs to be done on the bottom part as well. So I can have a look at that. But the other thing is I do have an SE30 here with a weird display problem, and I want to see if I can potentially fix it. Oh, ow. Sorry, sore bum. Jeez, it's hot. I just walked up there. It is warm. Oh, sweaty bum. Righty. 32 pieces of A5 pizza. So, do people want to have a look at the SE30? We'll see if we can get the display issue fixed, or do people want me to keep recapping the PowerBook 100? I put the open to you guys. Keep recapping the PowerBook 100, or see if we can fix up the display issue with the SE30. I am not going to have pizza now. As much as everyone's talking about pizza, I would love to eat pizza, but I'm having pizza for dinner. So, okay, PowerBook. All right, Colin has spoken. Let me. Colin loves his PowerBooks, just not the 150. Oh, what's that? That looks like a Quadra. No, what do you call it? That's that's a Color Classic. Good old Color Classic, eh? Loving those. I vote PowerBook. PowerBook. Oh, everyone likes the PowerBook. Okay, cool. All right, getting sleepy. Fair enough, Kai. Can't criticise you for that. Have I already done this? There's a whole lot of tantalums on here. I might have already done this. How embarrassing would that be? Or someone has. Someone's done something. No, this doesn't look like my work. Maybe some of it is, but... There's some electrolytics here that look like they've been sort of bent down, so... why is it so dark? Oh, I know why it's so dark. It's because of this stupid thing. Yeah. If I can just... I'll disconnect the keyboard. Yeah. Let me take this out. There we go. See, that's someone has put an electrolytic in there. So this is not my work. I'm just letting everyone know that. I don't think it's my work. It's possible. Oh dear. But it looks like it has been largely recapped. So I need to go back and have a look at my notes. I mean, probably what happened is someone sent this to me and said, oh, it's been largely recapped, but the screen hasn't been done. That needs to be done. So that's looking like how it probably is, because there's a lot of tantalums on here. How do I open this? Whoops. Oh, like that. Piece of piss, as they say. Oh, sorry, mucking around with my little Make 84 badge. Do we replace all the caps? All the caps. I mean, do I have to replace this little guy on the trackpad? We'll see. Right, so what have we got here? We've got a 4.750. That's interesting. 4.750. That's lying down. Then I've got a couple of... See, these... Look, these don't look right. I mean, maybe they are. Oh, no, actually, they are through... Oh, I got to tell you this story. This is so funny. Kay Kober contacted me recently. I was just chatting about stuff with him. Someone sent him an SE30, right, that they had tried to recap themselves. This is so funny. Now, they weren't able to get surface mount components. They had through-hole components. But because this SE30 has surface mount pads, do you know what the person did? They drilled holes in the board so that they could use through-hole components. That is not a word of a lie. He showed me pictures of the thing, and someone has actually got a drill and drilled holes in the pads so that they could put through-hole components in. I mean, that is out there, man. Hello, Frank S. How's the flu season down there? Been something getting around up here in Queensland? Not too bad. I mean, I did get crook a few times during winter. I even got COVID, which was fun. COVID just feels like a cold or a bad cold. It's bad cold. It feels like a bad cold, except I lose my sense of smell. I've never lost my sense of smell with a cold before. So, you know, I was like, I can't smell anything. It's like, oh, crap, I've got COVID again, haven't I? No, it didn't. Well, actually, Colin, it did work. So, needless to say, you know, the recapping never ended up actually happening. So, or if it did, he's taken the components out. And he did fire it up and it worked, but had all sorts of video problems. The image was just a schmozzle. So I'm guessing there's some like data lines or something that are damaged in there. So the chooks are good. We'll just go and say a quick little hello to them again. We've said hello to them once today, but we'll just have another quick little look and see how they're going. Chookcam. There we go. There's the blind one, still walking around being blind. There's a pigeon. I was hoping we might get an ibis. We've had lots of visits from ibis lately. Ibises. Yeah, there was one in there, because the ibis comes in and drinks their water, and then if there's food in the feeders, it comes in and gets the food from the feeders. So there's this ibis that comes in and visits every now and again. And I love them. I think they're gorgeous birds. And they're Australian natives as well, so it's not like they're an introduced species or anything like that. They are called the Australian white ibis. That's what they're called. Fancy name like that. All right, so I'm just going to zoom in on this a little bit because I think it makes sense. It'll be easier for it to kind of explain what's going on here. So, I think that's reasonably focused. Or not. One of the very annoying things about this camera, and it's one of the reasons why I am actually going to replace this soon, is that, oh god, there we go. It doesn't focus all the way across, you know, it can be blurry in one spot and focus in another spot. They get a lot of negative press, they do, and it's a real shame, because as I say, they are an Australian native bird, they've got as much right to be here as we do, so... and they're also an animal that has just been squeezed out of its natural habitat, and so that's why they hang out with us now. And they're just they've adapted very well with a great big long beak like that. They're really good at finding food in all sorts of places. So, and they're big too. I'll tell you what, you do not want to park your car under a tree with ibis in it, because, whoa, crikey, they've got some meaty sized poops. What do they call it? Guano. Okay. What am I checking? What am I checking? Am I checking something? Am I checking something? Francois, did you want me to check something? Okay. Now, right. So, yes, well, now, some of these caps that are on here, I definitely did not do. First, I'm going to see if I've got a surface mount 50 volt 4.7 microfarad. I don't think I would have done that with lying down, but it's possible I did. But I don't think I would have. And then what have we got here? I'll replace this while I'm at it. This one is a... Need my glasses. Need my fancy glasses. Here they are. Wild turkeys wandering around my neighbourhood in Minnesota. They've been squeezed out of their habitat too. Yeah, we've got brush turkeys here. We don't have like those sorts of turkeys that you have over there. We have things called brush turkeys. I don't think they make good eating though. Alright, I'll have a look at this with my special powerful eyes. This one is... Crap, I can't read that. Yeah, that's got to come out. You're coming out. There we go. Well, there's another one there as well. Because I don't remove things unless I've got something to replace them with. So that's 0.22 microfarad 50 volt. I can't imagine I've got one of those. Needs to be through hole. Well, I have put surface mount on through holes before, but it's not ideal. 50 volt. 50 volt. What have I got? 0.22. There you go. And so that's 0.22, and that's... I can't read that. It's facing the other way. Sony. Actually, this says Logitech on it. Trackball was made by Logitech. How about that? Maybe other people knew that already, but I didn't. This is news to me. Alright. So I'm going to replace these two caps on the trackball. Is it necessary? I don't know, but, you know, I've asked to recap it. I'm going to recap it. Oh, turkey got hit by a car. Not good. There are some birds you would not want to hit with your car, I tell you. You wouldn't want to hit an ibis with a car. It would do a lot of damage to your car. Right, let's see if we can get this sorted out. I have to swap glasses again. And I want you guys to be able to see the scope. I don't see too good without glasses. And it gets worse as you get older, just in case anyone isn't aware of that. Be forewarned, because no one warned me. I had to find out all by myself that when you get into your 40s, your eyesight goes. You lose your close vision. You start getting long-sighted, and it's not good. Don't like it. And then you have to start wearing multifocals. Ugh. Which is what I wear, by the way. So that I can read my watch and still drive a car. My old eyes can't see anything. Oh, emus would definitely mess up a car. I love emus. I think they're just such a beautiful animal. 0.22, 50 volts. They freak people out. I was at a zoo once, and there was this very friendly emu that just kept coming up and saying hello to everyone. And people just running away. It's such an odd looking, and of course they're right up at your eye level. So, yeah, it was fun to watch. Actually, I was enjoying watching these people run away. Okay, so this is a 0.22 50 volt. 0.22 50 volt. So we are going to be plonking into here in place of the old one. Emu. Yes, no, that's not how it's pronounced. It is a word given to the birds from the indigenous people of this land. Oops. Okay, I can't read this one as to what it is, so I've got to actually take it off even just to find out what it is and whether I've actually got one to replace it with it. Who knows? I did actually do a live stream on this PowerBook, and I'm wondering if I did all that other recapping in that other live stream. I'll need to go back and check my live streams and see, or whether I got it already recapped. And if I did recap it, why did I lie down electrolytic capacitors? It just doesn't seem like something I would do. 10 microfarad, 16 volt. I shouldn't have any problem with that. That is very common. 10 microfarad, 16 volt. There we go. Little tiddly ones. Little teeny weeny little ones. 10 microfarad, 16. I am using, these are Panasonic capacitors. They make very good capacitors. So if you're ever looking at which brand to select, if Panasonic make the capacitor size you're after, you can do a hell of a lot worse than buy their caps. Rob T, hello there, Rob T. There's the interesting thing, Paul, is that because in this country there were so many different what they refer to as countries, you know, there were lots and lots of different sort of tribes and stuff like. There were lots of different dialects as well. I know a few words in the dialects that was spoken in the area that I live, but not many, but I know some. But of course there are some languages that are completely lost. But thankfully we do have quite a lot of places that are named, you know, sort of using indigenous terms, which I like. And of course we're just very used to pronouncing them, and we're just used to saying them, but some of them are quite a mouthful. Over 270 different languages, there we go. In getting into my 40s, it was my far vision I lost. Oh, what? That's crazy. Kept having to take my glasses off to solder. Alright, so that's that done. That's our little trackpad recapitulated. That was a nice easy one. That was only 2 caps. But we need to have a look at this part now, because I really do want to not have a 4.750 lying on its side. Let's see what I have in the way of tantalums. And then I might have to go to electrolytic. 4.750, 4.725, 47, okay. That's tantalums 1, tantalums 2. 4.735, they're the ones we use for the other part. 0.4750, that's not right. Oh, that's not right. What's that? That's like, I think that's 47. I don't know. So let's have a look at electrolytics. I don't mind sticking an electrolytic on there. I'm not averse to that. And if I don't have the right one, I will order it, because I don't want a lying down electrolytic on there. It was 4.750, wasn't it? 47, 47, 47. Nope. 47. Nope. And the only other place I can look now is in this one. 4.735. So yeah, that may be why I put a lying down one on there, which I really don't like doing. But 4.735 is as high as I go. I don't have a 4.750. So, Steve, are you still in the chat there? I can't remember. You sent me a link ages ago to... actually, I'll have a look. I'm sure it's here. We go. PowerBook 100 cap reference. There we go. Here it is. Let's just share the screen here for a second. So we've got capacitor reference for PowerBook 100. So we've got radial electrolytic. Okay, 4735. Where's that? Oh, we'll have to have a look. So what have we got here? We've got this one here. What's the white one? 4.750. Yep, okay. That's the one that we don't have. So I will have to order that. And these ones here, see, I don't know if these are new or not, but I'll check. And what's this one in the corner, the yellow one? 4735. Okay. Is that new? Oh, that is new. That's one of mine. I did do that. So I laid it down. So that's, I mean, unless they're using the same brand as me, but that's always possible. This is an indication I've had this for way too long when I don't remember what I've done before. For 4735, yep, that's mine. So that's fine. So it looks like I have done everything apart from this one here. I need to replace that, so I'll need to order in that. That's nice and easy to order, so that's fine. We've done those two caps there now, I think. Oh, okay. Is there a cap on that board as well? Yep, I've done that, so that's good. We've done those. Oh, where was that one? Inverter board. Okay, so that's the one on the other side of the screen. So we'll have a look at that one. And the trackball, I've done those. Just did those. So let's just check the inverter board, see if I've done that, because I may have already done that just based on what I'm looking at here. And if I have, then all I need to do now is just order either a tantalum or a hybrid electrolytic 4.750, and then this one will be done. I'll be able to send it back to the owner, who has been incredibly patient with me. Yeah, I'll put it all together and test it out. I mean, I could put it together and test it out now, but then I have to pull it all apart again to replace that cap. So I'm not a huge fan of doing that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? If there is a way to block capacitive coupling of AC current causing a phantom AC voltage with SMPS, well, you will need to ask someone that knows more about that stuff, because I sure as hell don't know. The Great Vowel Migration in English stopped a lot of names, changed a lot of names and words. It sure did. My parents are teachers, so the vowel migration was something we talked about. It's a really interesting thing that people suddenly talked differently. And we know, the reason why we know this, you might say, how the hell do we know that people talk differently? Well, the reason we know is because of poetry. There's a lot of written poetry that rhymes. So they had poems that rhymed. But if you read them the way we talk now, they don't rhyme. So the fact that they rhymed means that we know that people pronounce things very, very differently. And that was the Great Vowel Migration. Okay, I'm just going to check and see if I have done this inverter board already, which, just based on everything I'm seeing, I probably have. If I haven't, we will do it, and then I will move on to the SE30 thing that I was talking about before. And then I'll just finish this off when I get the proper cap. Oh, it doesn't look like I've done those. So, is that because I didn't have them? Anything is possible. But we'll see what they are. What did he say they were? 4716. 1516? I've never even seen a 15 before. Never seen a 15 before. Right. Don't like it. Don't like this. I hate. This is one of the reasons why I don't like working with laptops, all the bits. Right. 15. 15. 15. I know I definitely don't have a 15. I've never even seen a 15 microfarad before. But I'll look anyway. 16 volt, 16 volt. I'm good at putting things around with the labels around the wrong way. Oopsie. What's that? That's miscellaneous, or is that? Yeah. It's axials. Here's my 16 volt. 10, 22. Yep, no 15s. So that's one I have to order as well. What have I got there? $180 microfarad 16 volt. That's an interesting size. Right, but I do need a 4716, which I definitely have. I've got a nice little fat one here. Little short, fat 4716. And he's going to replace this little short, fat 4716. It's a little bit less fat, but he's still, I think he's still going to be okay. I think he should still fit. I think so. Good night, Francois. Thank you for joining. I hope you are more productive tomorrow. I hope everyone is more productive tomorrow. Productivity is great, isn't it? I wasn't terribly productive yesterday, unfortunately. I did get some stuff done. I had to do a presentation, and that all went well. I think it went well. I think everyone was pretty happy with what we were presenting. I'm basically demonstrating some software that I built to people. They seemed pretty keen. Out she comes. Ow, 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 ow. Ow. That's cap got hot. Okay, that's the positive side. Here's the negative side. And I need to get this as flush as possible because this doesn't have a lot of room to sit on this computer. This is the squishiest one I have. I think it's going to be squishy enough, but we won't know until I connect it up. Here we go. Right. So, I'm going to put this back together just so I don't lose anything, and I also want to make sure that this does still fit with the new capacitor in there. And then I've got to find a 15 microfarad. And I shall use this other 16 as a measuring thing to make sure I get the right size, get one that's small enough. 15. I'm so confused by 15. Ah, it doesn't friggin' fit. I mean, it sort of does. Like that. Is that how it went? Yeah, that was alright. I'll have to see if I can find one that's a little bit shorter. And I've got ones that I could probably lie down. Let's have a look. It's amazing how short it needs to be. Let's see, I mean the board's got some flex, so it might be okay. I'm just going to screw it and see if it feels like really bad. Ah, it doesn't feel too bad. I think it's alright. I mean, if it fits, it should be fine. I mean, if it goes back together, I should say, I think it'll be fine. I don't think that's going to cause an issue. But anyhow, I will investigate. If I can get shorter ones, I'll get one, seeing as I'm ordering other caps anyway. So that's all good. I'll put this away, and I'm now going to see if I can fix up this issue with an SE30. And then I'll probably call it a day and have some lunch. Won't eat much because I'm going out to dinner, and I want to make sure I'm super hungry because I love pizza. Come on, pizza. Just going to put this away. There we go. Now the problem with the whole SE30 situation is it takes up a bit of space. With all the wall warts and LED bulbs, what's interfering with? Okay, cool. There's definitely stuff going on there. Pizza. Can I have a pizza? I really should be trying out some of these fluxes as well. I should grab myself a dead board and repair some traces on it just for fun. But anyhow, we'll see if we can get this SE30 working. I'm going to... I think it's that it? I think that's it. Ow! Sorry, I just whacked the camera with my head. I'm sure you were able to figure that out. Paper clips. Got a whole stack of paper clips in here. Why is that? Riddle me that. Okay, so this is an SE30 that was brought to me by a customer. It's theirs. They owned it from new. They bought it new. It's ended up getting a little bit rusty, unfortunately. But that happens. But it's not as bad as some I've seen. That I can tell you for sure. Oops. Probably best, maybe this side view. That's probably a bit crappy. What about? I'll go just me. That view is probably best for the moment. So this is SE30. And I've recapped the logic board and I believe it's all fine now. But if it's not, I'll just grab someone else's board. I'll just use mine for testing. And I'm just going to show you what it does. So let me just set up this camera so that we can view this. There we go. And I'm just going to change the frame rate on this so that we don't get flicker. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. So this might still flicker a little, but it should be pretty good. We should be getting around about, I think it's going to be at about 60.1 frames per second, which should match the around about 60 hertz of this screen. Right, and I get a logic board like this one here, which I know works, and has 16 megabytes of RAM connected to it, and maybe a speaker so we know if it's actually I probably don't need to worry about that. We'll just, because it's not sound I'm concerned about, it's all video. Alright, so let's go here to this side view. And right, there we go. And I'm going to fire it up and we'll just see what happens. It's all connected, isn't it? I'm just going to make sure I've got everything connected to the hip bone, and to the knee bone, and to the thigh bone. It's not in the right order. Okay. Right. Ready, steady, go. Right, so this is fired up there. I've got my little red lights on for the RAM. And then, okay, this is the issue that I've got. See what's happening with the screen here? So I've got a cursor, but I've got this all up. So we've got this little issue. Now, I know the general vicinity of where this problem is and can potentially be solved. And so I'm going to have a look at that. I'm going to look at that and see, first of all, whether maybe some resistors have gone or something like that, because that does end up happening with these old boards. Or cracked solder joints, or actually it looks like I've already done the solder joints, so I can see that from here. So probably not cracked solder joints. Or it could be a component failure. We'll check that out as well. So I'm just going to discharge the CRT. Generally not necessary with an SE30, but it does not hurt to do it in case. Now, one of the downsides that I've got here, I've just powered this up which means that a lot of these capacitors are all going to be charged up. So I'm going to have to be super careful that I don't accidentally cook myself. Because I don't know if there's anyone out there that has ever zapped themselves with a charged capacitor, but it is very unpleasant. And burny, quite burny. As in, not like Weekend at Bernie's, as in, oh, ouch, I have burnied myself. There we go. Okay, let's pop him back up. Anyone got anything interesting planned for the weekend? I know it's Friday night for a lot of you people. So, fun and exciting things ahead for the weekend. Yep, so I've already recapped this. That's great. And the area that I need to be looking at is focuses out on this because I whacked it with my head. There we go. So the area that we need to be looking at is around here. So what I'm going to do is just first of all having a look at this, looking at the circuit. This circuit, it's around this little guy here with the piece of metal sticking on it. I'm going to look around here and see if I can see any failed resistors coming off it, because the resistors do fail on these. I've had plenty that have failed before. So I'll check those. If they're all looking like they're okay, I'm going to swap out this component. We'll see if it makes a difference. Stupid thing. Catch the soft thing and let the hard thing fall down. I've not zapped myself. Oh, my screen just went blank. I've not zapped myself with a flyback, but there was one time in 9th grade science class I was playing with a flash circuit and touched the two wrong points and the thing went flying. Ouchie. Yet to get seriously shocked from CRT. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been hit by CRT. I've been hit by other things though. Yeah, it's not pleasant. I was working on a power supply once and I accidentally shorted one of those great big capacitors and it just left two massive burn marks on my hand. Awful. Right, now I'm going to hold this up to the light. Okay, so this is our component here. And so I want to have a look around anything coming off that. And I'm going to do that by holding this up to the light, which of course you can't see really, because you need to be where I am. And I'm just looking to see where things are joining up. Okay, so we've got that resistor, looks like it belongs somewhere else. That goes through to a capacitor, which is right. That goes through to an IC. Okay, that's that. I think that's a capacitor there. So there are two resistors here that are on the same circuit, so I will check those. That's these two here. So we'll just see if they are resisting. So many burn marks on the bench. Yes, many burn marks on the bench. So this is a desk that I bought. So I bought this desk from, I don't know where. I can't remember. But anyhow, I bought this desk. And then I immediately went out and bought some plywood. So a few sheets of, like, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 plywood. So I bought 2 sheets of this 7-ply plywood and attached it onto the top of the desk. Because I knew it was going to be getting hit with hot air and stuff like that. There was going to be burns and it's going to be drill holes and all sorts of crap. So I put that on there. And then when this wood gets to the point that it's just unusable, I can do one of two things. First of all, I can flip it, so I can use the other side. But then when the other side's then stuffed, I can then just replace it with new wood. It'd be a nightmare of a job though. I'd have to get everything off this desk, and that would suck. So for the moment, I'm just going to live with the burn marks. Okay. Oh man, I've got to crank this AC up. It's getting so hot in here. It's in silent mode. Let's put it to max mode. There we go. Now it's cranking. Oh, that's so much better. SE30 Compact Mac. I wonder whether this will be the time I shock myself. Or neck the CRT. Oh, the CRTs terrify me. Terrify me. You know, I just always scared. Okay, resistor. I use an app called Resistor Toolkit. And it allows you to type in SMD codes. It also allows you to put in 4 or 5 band colors, and it'll tell you what the resistance is. It's a very handy thing. Blue. So this is a 4-band resistor. And it is blue, white, orange, gold, I think. Blue, white, orange, gold. That is 69 kilo ohms. Wow, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Blue, white, orange, gold. 69 kilo ohms. Phew. How about that? So, I'll get my Kaiweets multimeter. I'm using a Kaiweets HT118E. There are links in the description and a discount code for these. So, I use 2 Kaiweets multimeters. One of them is now up in the house. I've been using that as my main in-the-house multimeter. That's the Kaiweets KM601. Great multimeter, lovely big screen. And then I've been using this one down here. And the main reason why I use this one, number one, it has a leg on the back. Mine does too, because I 3D printed one, my other one. But the others, I kind of like the clicky wheel thing. So I'm going to put this onto resistance. Okay, we're on resistance, that's good. And I'm just going to measure these here. That's 68K. 68K, so they're great. There's nothing wrong with those resistors, everything's fine. And what's that? That's a capacitor. Yeah, that's a capacitor there. At 104, what is that? That's 1 microfarad? 1 0 and 4 zeros, that's 5 zeros, that's 10,000 pico, which is 10 microfarad, I think. I think 104 is 10 microfarad. I've broken the vacuum twice now. Might have even been 3 times. I think I might have even broken 3 now. I'm not too happy about it. It was a set of circumstances, a specific set of circumstances, but nonetheless. They were my computers. I didn't do them to someone else's, but I'm not happy. Cool. Just check this resistor. Even though I don't think this is in the same circuit, I'm still going to check it anyway because it's nearby. Yeah. Come on. Hey, what are you doing? Don't vex me. This says open. Is this resistor gone? Or am I just... Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I'm on the wrong setting, everyone. There we go. 150k. That's all right. Did I ever send you the SE30 analog board bill of materials spreadsheet? You may have. You may have, but I can't remember. I can't remember. I'd have to double check. You may have. I think so, but I'm not sure. So, because we did talk about it, because I was talking about this one, and you were saying that you ended up just buying this one on eBay, which I'm going to do the same if this is the problem. So, it looks, you know, as I say, I haven't done an exhaustive test, but just looking at the resistors that are nearby to this, they're okay. So, I'm going to take this component out, and I'm going to replace it with one. I'm going to just borrow one from another board for the moment. And then if it turns out to fix it, then I will order a new one. So I've got to get this out, and it is the weirdest component in the world. It just has pins sticking out all over the place. So, yeah, it's just weird. And of course, we've got this huge. I mean, look at. Oh, you can't see anything. Look at all this solder. All that solder there. It's going to be fun getting rid of that. Ugh. Thank you. I appreciate it. I suppose there's no harm in sending it again. Even if I already have it, it won't hurt having it again. So thank you for that. Wheats KM601 Smart Digital Multimeter. 10,000 counts. True RMS. Just going to get as much of this solder up with this sucker first. And then I'll use WICK. It's just that WICK costs money, you know. So as much as I can kind of get up with that method is good. This first method. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Colin, you did a whole new analog board, didn't you? So you got a blank analog board for an SE30 and did the whole thing. Here it is. He's just sent it. That was quite something else. Oh, this feels blocked. Yeah, it's blocked. It's better. Yeah, that's better. One of Kay's reproduction PCBs. Yeah, that's amazing. So you did Bowles logic board, Kay's analog board, and then you did Kay's ROM, and you did Kay's RAM, and then you did a MacFX case, didn't you? So it was just like a brand new SE30. That's just wild. That's a wild thing in this day. I just find the concept of that just incredible. Oh. I just lifted a pad. It's not connected to anything. But, you know, I just lifted a pad. I'm not happy about that. I don't normally do that. Whenever I burn myself when I'm soldering, it's almost always on solder wick. You know, I use the solder wick. Solder wick gets hot. I go to put it down somewhere, and then ouch! Alright, now I'm just going to check and see if this is coming out yet. That's still rock solid. I'm going to get my great big fat soldering iron tip. Great big whopper of thing. Amazing what the vintage community is able to come up with these days, I know. When we did that Tinker Different live stream, which unfortunately Colin wasn't able to make, but one of the projects that we showed was this guy who has created a PDS slot card that allows you to put 256 megabytes of RAM, fast RAM, into an SE30. And I just looked at that and I thought, that is just the best thing ever. It's bloody expensive. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it's bloody expensive. So I'm not sure if I can justify the cost of one. But what a cool thing. I mean, if I can get one, I will. Okay. Gosh, this is on there. Kai, was Kai at the live stream? Yeah, he was. He was indeed. It was me, Eric, Kai, and I think Steve from Mac84 popped in for a little while. He had to disappear after a while because we went on for ages. But yeah, it was good. You know, we were just showing off some of the amazing things on the Tinker Different forum, some of the incredible creations people are coming up with. This is difficult. Why is this component so weird? Answer me that. It's so close to coming out. So I'm just heating the back. I mean, it's wiggling like crazy. Here we go. Wiggle it just a little bit. Come on. It's coming. It's coming. Oh, God, we're so close. It's just one side. I can't get enough force without pulling the board over, so I'm going to apply heat from this side and then try and poke it through. Just check and make sure that I've got all the solder off these other pins, because if I haven't, I could do some damage. I'm going to get my other glasses, the ones that allow me to actually see things up close. Here we go. Yep, okay, it's coming out. Yep, alright. Plonk. Board in great shape, only 2 caps leaking. That surprises me with a PowerBook. A lot of those PowerBooks have very, very leaky caps, so obviously check and make sure, well, definitely recap every one, because it may be leaking underneath. So all those electrolytic caps, if you haven't already, recap it. That's what I would say to do first, absolutely 100%. Then, yes, the hybrid board is one of the more common failings of the PowerBook. Now, I've never actually worked on, I might have worked on one. I think I might have worked on one, yeah. But there was nothing wrong with the hybrid board. But the hybrid board is something that does fail. And there is apparently, I think, a reproduction of it someone's made. Right, so I've taken this stupid component out. And I mean that most sincerely. It is a really stupid, ow, it's still hot. Really stupid component. Where the hell is pin 1 on this thing? Oh, I see. Yep, cool. Okay, Androida has reproduction hybrid boards. There you go. Right, so this is the board from the customer. I am going to raid my SE30 board here. Unless I have one lying around. It's already out. I do have that sometimes. It'd be easier to do it. No. No, okay. So this is my board here. This one works beautifully. Got a whole bunch of Ziploc bags that fell into it before. Because why not? But yes, I mean, definitely the hybrid board on those original Mac portals is a known problem point. Oh, this is cool. I haven't screwed this in. Makes life a lot easier for me. Okay. So if replacing this component fixes it, I will just order a new one on the E to the bay and pop it in, and that one will be good. Pretty sure the logic board is okay on that one. Why am I? Oh, I see it's caught. I will. Oopsie. Yeah, I need to double check that because I vaguely remember it was giving me a sad Mac chime, so I might need to do some more work on that one. What is the stupid component? It's a good question. It's one of these. Colin has the bill of materials, so he can probably say what it is, but it's a thingy-jig. I put this panel on the side. Why? Why? How do you confirm? That I couldn't tell you. Tech Knight was here before. He's really good with the portables. I don't know if he's still listening though. He's probably gone to bed. It's a TDA 1170N. There you go. Now, why am I replacing this component? You might think, you know, to say, hey, what knowledge does Bruce have, and so that makes him think this is the fault? And that I got that from what's it called? Dead Max Scrolls. So the Dead Max Scrolls book had listed that component as the fault for the bottom of the display being scrunched up like this one is. So, you know, I mean, it may not fix the problem, but I feel like it's a good starting point. Excuse me. Something just fell down, and I think I might have been a capacitor, but because of the glasses I'm wearing, I couldn't see what it was. It is a weird ass heatsink. Heatsink has a weird ass. Sorry, the soldering iron went to sleep. Get hot. Get melty. Here she goes. I've been watching a new TV series, well, it's not new, called is it Black Summer? Something like that. It's another bloody zombie thing, you know? I mean, how many zombie shows do we need? There's a question for you. Quite enjoying it. Watching the second series at the moment. Not enjoying that as much as I enjoyed the first series, but still enjoying it. I do love a zombie Holocaust film. Zombie apocalypse film. The zombie apocalypse. The zombies are way scarier in this than they are in Walking Dead. The Walking Dead zombies, they're all slow. The zombies in this one move, they go fast like the World War Z. World War Z, as we say here. Ow! See? Always burn myself on bloody wick. Ouch! And then I stab myself with side cutters. So the weird thing about this component that I'm working with at the moment is the pins don't come out of the dip package straight. They come out at different levels. I don't know why that is. Ouch. Nice wide holes for the pins though. That's nice. So this SE30 definitely works. So I'm assuming this component also works. Is there a dead SE30 scrolls? What is there? I think there's a Macintosh repair and upgrade secrets for the early Mac 2 series and for the Classic and Classic 2 in SE30. So it's not dead Mac scrolls, but the dead Mac scrolls does definitely cover the SE30 to some extent. I think. I can't remember. I can't remember which book is which. I'm getting confused now. I'm confusing myself. WICK. Fairchild engineers were probably drunk when they designed the chip. That's what we'll assume. Whoopsie. Yeah, that one was way easier to do. I shouldn't have bothered with all that yanking from the back. I just used the hot air station and push it through with a big tip. That was a piece of cake. Okay, let's put the bad one over here so we don't get them muddled up. That's the sort of thing I would do. So yeah, I'm just trying to remember the different books. I'll have a look in a moment. We'll just put this on first, and then I'll have a look at the books, because there were two different types of books. There was one, I think it was called Repair and Upgrade Secrets, and there was another one called Dead Mac Scrolls. But I can't remember. And one of those did end up getting a revision for the Classic and the Classic 2, I think. And then also there was one that was for the Mac 2 series. So, but they're very handy to have. I think I'm pretty sure they're on the how. This thing is still really hot. I was going to put it in front of the air conditioner for a sec. There was some. I think they're on the Internet Archive. I'm pretty sure you'll find these books on the Internet Archive. Just download the PDFs. You can still buy them. I've got 2 of them in actual book form. Couldn't one Google that? One could Google that. Okay, I'm just cleaning off some of the old solder on these. I think it'll just make it a little bit easier for reinstallation. It's got the little dip in here for the showing pin 1. The one good thing they have done for us is made the holes for these pins really big, because they are so weird, which makes it nice and easy for getting it put into place. Alright, so that's there. Now we just have to solder it in. I've got a few of these pads which are coming up, unfortunately. So I'm going to try and fix as many of these as I can. As someone who is not afraid to repair tracers, it doesn't really worry me too much when these sorts of things break, so I know I can fix them. One way or another. Alright. I'm going to need the microscope for this bit. And my other glasses, because these glasses don't work too well with the microscope, because they're bifocals. There we go. Okay, so I have got... You can see I've lost a pad here, but it doesn't go anywhere, so that doesn't matter. That was just there to help hold it in. This one here is a bit breaky. A bit achy breaky, so I'm going to have to get a bit creative with that one. That's okay. I'll just get my scalpel. I'm going to scrape off some of this mask so I can get a really good blob of solder onto that. The pins don't stick through very far. I wonder if I can try and push them in a bit more. Okay. No offence taken. Takes a lot to offend me, I'll tell you. Okay, now I'm going to put some solder onto this stupid heatsink. Why is the heatsink stupid? Because I said so, that's why. I can hear birds on the roof of my shed. Probably pigeons. Okay, so it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but I do believe we're all connected up. I'm not a huge fan of this one here with the missing bit, so I might put a little bit of wire on there as well, just to help it along. Is this the... I put some wire that solder doesn't stick to. Is this the one? This looks like the one. Yeah, that's the one with the wire solder doesn't stick to. This should be enough. It's just something to help hold the solder in place. Hey there, Sean. How you doing? We're going to get a video on frog find. I want a video on frog find, on what it's like keeping frog find going. I have not yet watched your latest video, Sean, but my goodness, you're punching them out so fast these days. Makes it very difficult. I may have put something from your friend Madeline. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. I saw Madeline just recently, actually, because she lives a long way away from me. She lives in a town called Ballina. And when she comes to Sydney to visit, she usually comes and visits, and we usually go out to dinner. Catch up with her, and usually with Adrian as well. People who don't know Adrian has probably the largest vintage Mac collection of boxed equipment in the world. And there might be people that have larger collections of Mac stuff, but he has probably the largest collection of Mac stuff in boxes. And I have not been to see his collection. I've been invited to do so, but the time that I was invited, I wasn't able to make it. But his collection is incredible. You get to see some of it. He was in a what's his name, Duke Miami, Luke Miani video. Luke came out here to Australia just to check out Adrian's collection. Oh, fizz. That'll do. Do you think that'll do? That'll do. I want to just tidy this away a little bit. There we go. Okay, I believe we've made connection there. I am looking forward to finding out what fun thing you purchased off Madeline. Madeline has a lot of stuff. I've got a few things. I've actually got one of her computers here that I've had for way too long. I need to repair and get back to her. But it was a very complicated repair, so it kind of got put in the too hard basket. But I do need to get back to it. But she has a pretty amazing collection as well. And she was someone who was using Macs in the earliest of days, as in, like, if you wanted to write software for the Mac in the early days, you needed a Lisa. Their software development kit, all of that was actually on the Lisa. So you had to buy a Lisa if you wanted to write software for a Mac. In the early days, that changed, of course. And she was one of those people who was actually writing code for a Mac on a Lisa back in the early days. I think I'm getting another visit from a chicken. Hello. Hello. Right, so I have replaced this little thingamajig. And now I am going to see if that was indeed the cause of our problem. If it wasn't, I'm going to have a tanty. This one. Hello. Cute little thing. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. No. Just getting warm in here, too. Alright, so this is the final reveal. Regardless of what happens with this, whether it works or it doesn't work, I am going to finish the live stream at this point. Just cause. That doesn't look good. I should probably replace that connector too. And the main reason why I will need to stop this live stream is because I'm hungry. There we go. Looking good. Looking good. Okay, we've got three things to connect. We've got the yoke connector, click. We've got the flyback transformer, anode cap, and we've got the, what is this one called? This is the neck connector, isn't it? Something like that. No, neck board connector and yoke connector. This is the yoke connector. The other one was a neck board. In place. It is a funny looking PowerBook. We got as far as we could with the PowerBook. I was working on that for maybe 1.5 hours, something like that. So we recapped the LCD screen. Most of the logic board is recapped, but there's one cap I need to buy because I didn't have it. 2 caps I need to buy because I didn't have them. But very, very close to finished. So that's good because I've had the bloody thing for ages. And the guy who owns it wants it back. And I can't say I blame him. Right. All of my live streams end up with SE30s. Everyone should know that by now. Start with a PowerBook, end with an SE30. Start with the Macintosh 2FX, end with an SE30. I'm just going to make sure everything is plugged in. Good. All right, so we're going to see what we get with this now. What we're hoping for is the screen looking all great and dandy and fine and happy, but I can't make any promises. So, 3, 2, 1. Just imagine it chimed. Ching! No, it's still rogered. So, we've still got a problem here. It wasn't that component, so there's nothing wrong with that component. So I now have to try and find out what's going on here. Because I don't know. But I'll have to figure it out. What you can always do, this is what I do sometimes, is you poke it. You just poke it. With something plastic, don't poke it with something metal. You just poke it. And you just hope that something comes good. Well, the poke method didn't work today, but you never know. So, yeah, I've got to go and figure out why that is doing that. I was following the instructions of, what's his name, Larry Pina, who said that when this happens, it's because of that, but he was clearly wrong. I'm not overly surprised, actually, because I've actually had someone once before come to me and said, oh, it's this component there, and then he changed it and it made no difference. And it's like, yeah, okay, so we know there's something else going on, probably related to the age of these things, some other component, and that will have to be investigated. Okie dokie. Ooh. Right, so that means that this component here that I took off is probably fine. So I will put that back on the board that I rated it from, because I just don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. And it would be crazy to waste it if it's fine. So all I've done is really swap one good component from one machine to another machine. And I can't say I'm overly surprised about that. Okay, well, I have been going now for just under 3 hours, which is a pretty good amount of time, I think. I may not be live streaming for a little while, because as I mentioned at the beginning of the live stream, I have a minor surgical procedure coming up on Monday, and there is a recovery time associated with that surgical procedure. And so I don't know if during that recovery time I will be able to live stream. If I can, I will, but I can't make any promises. So it may be a few weeks until my next live stream. We'll just have to wait and see. I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight, today, for this live stream. I'm looking forward to stepping into some decent air conditioning because it's really getting quite warm here. Yeah, so we got the PowerBook almost completely recapped, very, very close to that. Just got to replace 2 more caps. One, I didn't have the right size as a surface mount, and the other one, I didn't have the right size at all. So I just got to get those 2, and then there's another one where I've replaced it with a cap, which I feel is a little bit too tall. So if I can get a shorter one, I'll get a shorter one. In fact, yes, let's hope they don't let the magic smoke out. And yeah, okay, so thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you to everyone for keeping the chat lively today. There was lots and lots going on in the chat today, and I really enjoyed that. So that was wonderful. Thank you all very, very much. I just a reminder to people, if they haven't seen it already, I did release a video recently about the Blue SCSI external. Just, you know, sort of they've made that thing very, very small recently, and I just wanted to give it a try, and I was pretty pleased with it. Made a few suggestions that they could potentially improve it. I don't know if they listen to me or not, but I'm allowed an opinion. Yeah. Yeah, so probably my next big video coming out will be on this guy here, the resin 3D printer. I'm really quite looking forward to doing that one. I've got a lot of the script already written. I've just got a lot of filming, and I've got a lot of B-roll, but I've got a lot of A-roll to film. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you all very, very soon. Thank you to anyone who's watching this on the replay. I really appreciate that. Just a reminder, if you wouldn't mind,
Smash that like button.
Doesn't cost anything. Just smash it away. And yeah, hope everyone has a good time, and hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye. I've lost the thing. There it is. Bye.